Hey everyone, my name is Phil, and it's so good to be chatting to you about life. That's a pretty big subject, I know. But mainly, I want to talk to you about that feeling that we all get at some point when things aren't going the way that we think, when we just feel generally uninspired and almost like we're in a music video. We look out the car or the bus window, we see the raindrops falling down the glass, and we think to ourselves, is this really it? Is this all there is to life? This kind of thing happened to me. You see, a bit about me. I grew up in church. My family brought me there. I remember days where I'd pretend that I'd been listening, and I'd get home and my mum would have asked me what had been talked about, and I would make something up. I found myself having to go to church, but just not really caring that much about God. By my mid-teens, I had absolutely no intention of following Jesus. Even though I decided Christianity wasn't for me, I still had loads of those questions deep down. Is this it? Who am I really? What even is my purpose? I was especially uncertain about my identity, about who I really was. I started acting out and doing sketchy things to try and be one of the cool kids. Back then, my sole purpose in life was to fit in well. None of this worked. Truthfully, I hated getting in trouble. I knew that I was being a bit of an idiot. I knew deep down this wasn't who I was made to be. And then, age 16, I had an experience that absolutely changed my life. I went to a summer camp, and at that summer camp, I was completely overwhelmed by the love of Jesus, and everything changed. I decided to follow Jesus as best I could. And through following him, I found that the questions of who I was and what my purpose were starting to find an answer. I found that once you live through the lens of following Jesus, nothing can ever be the same. Once you live through the lens of being loved by him and having your identity shaped by him, there's simply no going back. Maybe you've experienced some uncertainty, or dissatisfaction, or emptiness, or hopelessness with life. And maybe if you're honest, you've never even told anyone that that's how you're feeling. Someone once said that in each of our hearts, it's like we have a happiness bucket that we're constantly trying to fill. It goes something like this. If only I had more money, I had that girlfriend, I had nicer clothes, or I had a new house, or I'd have this job, or I got those grades, then I'd be happy. If I just knew all the right people, or had all the right answers, or had all the right friends, then my life would be totally complete. But the weird thing is, no matter how much stuff we try to fill our happiness buckets with, we will never be able to fill them. We're still left wanting. And as good as all of those things can be, we just can't shake the feeling that there must be more to life than this. Jim Carrey, the famous actor and comedian, talked about this when he was talking around the feeling that most of us at some point, I know I've had the feeling at some point, that fame and money would help us be more satisfied with life. And he said this: I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of, just so they can see that it's not the answer. It's like there's a void in each of our hearts. There's this deeper, even spiritual hunger that we're all trying to satisfy. And nothing we ever do in this life is ever going to satisfy it, scratch that itch, or fill the void. Jesus talked about this to his disciples in the Bible. In the book of John, chapter 6, verse 36, it says, Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Firstly, let me clear up any confusion. Jesus is using bread as a metaphor. He's not trying to tell us that he's a loaf of bread that we're going to get in Pret a Manger or Starbucks with some really nice sandwich filler to eat. Although I do love a good sandwich. The audience that Jesus was talking to would have used bread every day as a means of sustenance, of health, of security. It was their main source of food, and essentially, it's how they maintained life. If they didn't eat bread daily, they would have ended up sick, they would have ended up physically sick, they would have ended up hungry, tired, weak, and more than likely, really ill. When Jesus calls himself the bread of life, he isn't talking in a physical sense. He isn't saying he's going to make us less hungry. He's talking spiritually, deep down within you and I. He's talking about the welfare of our soul. He's talking about that deeper spiritual hunger that we're all seeking to satisfy. What he's saying is this: if bread is what keeps your body healthy and alive, I'll do the same for all of you, your body, your mind, and your inner life. Nothing we ever do will fill our happiness bucket except Jesus Christ. The void in our hearts can't be filled by anything except Jesus Christ. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. You might partly fill it, but then it might just fall out again. Other things may plug the gap temporarily, but eventually that void will just open up again, and we will ultimately just end up being unsatisfied. We will never be satisfied in life unless we're in relationship with Jesus. It's as if he's saying this: I'm the one who fills that void. I'm the one who satisfies that hunger. It's as if he's saying your identity and your purpose only truly come from me. And that is exactly what I found in my life. After years and years of searching in the wrong places, I finally found belonging. I finally found identity through Jesus. And let me be really clear. It doesn't suddenly make life all easy, like sunshine and roses. Life is still really heavy sometimes. But what I do know is who I am. I know what my purpose is. And I think that knowing those things is the key. Knowing that those things only truly come from a relationship with Jesus is the true way that we can unlock life to the full. Maybe you're watching this and you're thinking, that's great, but it makes no difference to me. Or, I just don't believe this stuff, Phil, because it's all just your experience and it's all just things written down in a Bible that I don't even believe in. I really understand that. I get it. But there is research out there that shows us the positive benefits that living a life following Jesus can give us in the here and the now. Evidence that backs up that Jesus' claim that he is the bread of life is really true. In her book, 10 Questions Every Teen Should Ask and Answer About Christianity, Rebecca McLaughlin talks about various pieces of research that show us that what Jesus said is true, that show us the benefits to life that following Jesus and the life that comes with it can have for us. It shows us that what Jesus said about being the bread of life, about being the way that we find true satisfaction and true health in our inner being, is backed up by research. People who go to church weekly tend to be happier, healthier, more likely to volunteer, more generous with their money. Psychologists also found that many of the things that the Bible teaches us to do in life are good for us, including going to church, putting loving relationships first, helping others, being thankful, forgiving others, and sticking with hard tasks in the long term. Jesus never said that by following him, life would suddenly become easy. In fact, often in his teaching, he talked about following him being a sacrifice. But he did say that he was the bread of life, that he was where we would find true satisfaction, true meaning, and true identity. These statements in Rebecca McLaughlin's book back that claim up. Maybe the void you've felt in your life, that hunger that you just can't satisfy, may just be found in giving your life to following Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth is the most famous person who ever lived. He's the biggest character in world history, philosophy, art, and theology. He's the best recognized person in the entire world. His teaching is the best-selling book every single year. He has outlasted and out-influenced every human, empire, king, or ruler. And he said this, "Come to me and you will find rest. You will find life in all of its fullness." I discovered he was right. And as far as I'm aware, that offer still stands.